Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss Season 1 of HBO Max original show, The Last of Us. This is based on the best-selling video game of the same name. Creators of the game helped produce and create the TV show. Some of the voiced actors in the game were actual characters in the show. It's only 9 episodes long for Season 1. I didn't play the game. I didn't watch my brother as he played the game, over a decade ago. I think our mom has like the novelization of the first game. Like, great concept on a apocalypse caused by fungus, taking over the human psyche and body for that matter and spreading. So it's a different form of zombie, and it's really great. It's really great. I just love how fast this show is within 9 episodes. I love how nothing drags. I love how certain characters are introduced quickly and then immediately are killed. So it's just very interesting because you can't really you can't have emotional attachment for so long because you don't know when it's going to end. And that's the point of it. That's the point of Apocalypse. You don't know when your last ending is going to be. So Joel, character of Joel, is played by Pedro Pascal. And Pedro Pascal is also Din Djarin in Mandalorian. So to have two simultaneously aired productions on Disney Plus Mandalorian and HBO Max Last of Us, you have two different episodes of two Pedro Pascal shows airing at the same time. And it was so cool. It's never going to happen again, like timeline wise. But it was just, he's been ruling the internet, and I'm so proud of him. He's done such great things for so long, and he's finally getting the credit when credit is due. So, Joel, we start out on day one of the apocalypse, and he lives with his daughter Sarah and his brother Tommy, and like it's his birthday, and they're prepping. It's September of 2003, and so it's slowly starting, and then like the fun guy starts to like take over, and like cause the needing to spread and tear people apart bit, and then like within by the second day kind of a thing is just all absolute chaos, and there's just like shot for shot I've seen online, and my brother showed me too, of like stuff that happened in the video game, stuff that happened in the TV series. And the premiere episode was just so incredible and so painful, and it felt like a video game at certain moments when like the camera is panning to Sarah in the back of the truck, and we see the plane crashing on the side, and it's just chaos. So as the story progresses, Sarah's inadvertently killed within gunfire, and then we flash forward 20 years. So then we're in 2023. So what happened within 20 years? How is Pedro's character of Joel still living? And who is this new character, Ellie, being brought into the mix? I cannot remember the actor's name who plays Ellie. They played Lady Marmont in Game of Thrones. So to have that same little girl, quote unquote, energy and just rage killing constantly, it's just so epic. So you have different QZs, which are quarantine zones. The story then starts, the 20-year later story starts at the Boston quarantine zone. Stuff happens there. Joel, the character of Joel, Pedro, is trying to get to his brother Tommy, who's at some facility, or was at a facility in Wyoming, and then is no longer at that QZ. So what happened to Tommy? So Joe wants to get to Wyoming, but in the process, he is kind of not really hoodwinked, but like, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of a thing, to bring this girl, Ellie, to a QZ in Philadelphia? Pittsburgh? No, Kansas City. One of those places. They got to go west to drop her off because she has an immunity. And they want to, this group called the Fireflies are trying to get her there safely so doctors can figure out how to, take her blood samples as figuring out the cure, right? But as the story progresses, we meet episode 3 was like a 20-year romance and just isolation of two characters, Nick Offerman and this other actor whose name I cannot remember, did a fantastic job with their story of 20 years of apocalypse. Very gorgeous. Then we have other things. Joel's love interest, Apocalypse love interest, Tess, it goes along the way. She gets killed. She makes another sacrifice going to Wyoming after Kansas City. Stuff happens there. Getting to Wyoming, meeting up with Tommy, going to, what was it, Idaho or Salt Lake City? somewhere where there's another overturned QZ where the Fireflies are, kind of a thing, the Rebel Alliance group that they are. So it's just a matter of what happens, right? You can't really trust people. And when you think you're going to trust people, they're going to turn against you for resources. And we see that in a lot of apocalypse stuff, but this was a different type of apocalypse stuff. This was a type of apocalypse stuff. What would you do for you? Would you sacrifice this one person for the good of mankind, or will you lie to them in a parental standpoint and say everything is okay to make sure that they themselves are safe? That way Ellie doesn't have to technically sacrifice herself when truth comes out that she has to have a brain surgery to take out this cordyceps fungus that's been growing with her all this time on her brainstem things, right? So to go from good guy to bad guy to good guy to bad guy, and then the question is Joel a villain? Is he the hero of this story? Is he the villain of the story? Is Ellie the hero of the story? Is Ellie the villain of the story? Ellie goes on a killing spree herself, rightfully so, when she meets that disgusting David's group of gross people at that resort. So to have different climate thrown into this, to have heat, to have spring, to have fall, to have winter, to have different seasons, to have different animals come into play, like the last episode that was that majestic thing of seeing the giraffe. It's so well done, and it's so quick, and it's so important that it is quick because you don't get attached to these secondary characters and you don't mourn their loss as much as you would have if they were in 5, 6, 7, 8 episodes. They're only in one episode and you're like, oh damn, and that's it. Dead is dead. And it's such an interesting concept, when we're comparing apocalypse shows. Like Walking Dead is obviously a staple within apocalypse shows, even though the writing went south horribly, and I still mourn the loss of everyone. It's that same kind of, what do you do to survive aspect. It's really the human story with a bit of zombies thrown in. The Last of Us is still a human story with a bit of zombies thrown in, more logical zombies thrown in, because you get an actual origin in Indonesia, which was so cool. But do you sacrifice someone knowing that they could potentially cure the world, or do you keep them alive to give them a fighting chance to find a potential other way? Very interesting concept. Very interesting concept. What would you do for a loved one who you did not think of as a loved one? Loved it. Loved it. I love the practical effects. I love the quickness of the storytelling. The set designs were incredible. It just felt warm. Like it wasn't really scary. Yeah, but of course there's horror scenes to it, and it's a horror show, but it felt heartfelt. It was just warm. It was inviting. You're like, I'm thinking about this. Like, what do you do? And Ellie's backstory. We get prequel to her literally coming out of her mother's womb as a cordyceps infected is biting. To have the whole Ellie and Riley romance throughout the apocalyptic mall, bro. I love me a mall. I loved working in malls. Every day was a new day. It was always so much fun. Most of the days were absolute chaos and torture because people are stupid, but it was fun because you never knew who was going to walk through, the threshold. Where did they come from? What country are they from? You had no clue. Why were they here in your spot for that 1 5-minute moment? It was all about moments. And that's what's really cool about a mall. If you never worked in a mall, if you never hung out at a mall, you never really understand moments. All moments. That's the point of the mall, is to have the moment. I think Stranger Things really did a great job with the moments aspect of it in season 3. And it's unfortunate that malls are slowly dying, but it's what the online retail industry has done. So, c'est la vie. Anyway, episode 7, I believe, was the apocalyptic mall episode where Riley and Ellie are having a little excursion, a little date. And to have it apocalyptic, have the apocalyptic mall setting, it was just so gorgeous. Having some things work, some things still not work. Arcade machines, a Halloween store, because if the world collapsed the end of September in 2003, obviously a Halloween store would have been around because Halloween would have been a month away. So they're going to be selling Halloween merchandise. So to have a Halloween store still up and untouched, really, except for some dust and things, for 20 years, it's just so cool. I loved it. I think that was my favorite episode. The mall episode was my favorite episode out of the 9. So I don't know when they're starting the second filming season. I believe it's soon. I don't know when it's going to come out, but it was so good, bro. So good. I loved it. I watched it with my folks. We just loved it. It was great. Warm, warmth, warmth from a zombie apocalypse show. Who knew? Who would have thought? On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.